Good morning, TK. Ronnie Rantz here with you alongside Tommy Krysan. Welcome to Sports Shorts Friday as Tommy is at a very busy and loud Tremonti's Meat and Seafood over here on a Good Friday. I hope everyone's getting ready to enjoy maybe some time with your friends and family over the weekend. And, of course, folks coming in over there at Tremonti's to get all their last-minute goods for the barbecues, the crawfish boils, you name it, that are happening this weekend. One of the things that's happening this weekend is in the world of college baseball, a lot of Thursday, Friday, Saturday series to have, Easter off. I think 6 of the 8 SEC series this weekend are Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but LSU is one of the Friday, Saturday, Sunday series. And LSU will be at Tennessee today at 4:30. This series doesn't have quite the juice it would have if Tony Vitello was still the manager of Tennessee. Instead, he's over in San Francisco, but still nonetheless a giant series for a 4-5 LSU squad.
Well, today's game's on the SEC Network main platform. Tomorrow's ESPN2. Now, when they planned that, months ago, they didn't think Tennessee would be 3-6 in SEC play. LSU would be 4-5. But that's what you got. And LSU's already posted the starting pitchers. Kason Evans today, William Schmidt tomorrow, Gavin Guidry scheduled to go Sunday at 12 noon.
The impressive thing, Tommy, is that LSU struggles, especially on the mound, when you're talking about Evans with a 5 earned run average, even though we know he had an amazing outing. The second one in the 15 strikeout, 1 walk performance in one of those. But he's got a 5 earned run average. LSU's without a third starter, Cooper Moore, who was their number 2 starter, and Schmidt was the third. He's out for an undetermined amount of time. This will now be his second start he's going to miss due to some undisclosed arm injury. And Gavin Guidry, who's not had a good year, ERA over 6, is going to slide into that spot to at least start the game. It'll be a staff game. But even with all of those problems and an earned run average, that's one of the bottom of the SEC, towards, I think they were 13th after this past weekend out of 16 teams. They still are only 4-5 and 3 games out of first place. So there's, the rest of the league is a little discombobulated as well, and they find themselves tied for 9th out of 16 teams. But again, not far back from being one of the top 8 teams in the league if they can just right the ship a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. And, might be, Tennessee got swept by Vanderbilt last weekend. They did pick up a midweek win against Austin Peay. LSU picked up the midweek win against Southern. So, it's a big series for both teams to try to get back on track, back on the pace, back heading down the path they wanted to be. Because, heck, and we're 9 games in. We're a third of the way basically into the SEC grind. And big games for both teams, no question.
Bigger weekend really for Tennessee than LSU after being swept on the road in Vanderbilt to come home. You would expect that they have winning the series on their mind. They really need to win the series to kind of right the ship. Whereas LSU, if they really only take 1 out of 3, they come out of there 5-7 in a 2-week stretch at home against Kentucky and on the road against Vandy road against Tennessee to go 3-3 is not the worst thing. So, for the Tigers, you got to win at least one, Tommy, and for Tennessee, you really need to win the series. Now, LSU has back-to-back weeks against teams that are underperforming. They have Tennessee on the road this weekend. They got Ole Miss on the road next weekend. Ole Miss is a team that was swept this past weekend at home against Mississippi State. So the panic button is probably being pressed a little bit in both cities, but Ole Miss probably a little more than Tennessee at this point. Talking about Tony Vitello, your takeaway on week 1 of his reign as manager of the Giants.
It's been a little mixed, He gave this fire and brimstone. That's the way it was described speech. You don't need that. Might work in college. I mean, these guys are pros. Some of them older than Tony Vitello. I don't know if that works. There's been some mixed reviews, few things he's done and said, but there's a lot of eyes on it because he's the first guy ever go into a manager's job without any professional ball experience, in the low minors or being a hitting coach somewhere, whatever. So it'd be interesting to see how it keeps going. Now, you saw Jay Johnson was asked this week, he's following the Vitello thing. He said he wouldn't rule out jumping to MLB one day. Not now. He made that very clear. Not at this time. But I think he's keeping that door open just because he should keep it open because you can never say never. But the Vitello story is still getting a lot of attention out there in Frisco and in MLB.
You know, I could see Jay Johnson probably being more effective than Vitello at the professional level, just with his demeanor and the way he maneuvers in that building. Makes a little more sense to me than Tony Vitello. Plus, Jay's a young guy. Plus, Jay doesn't have kids. Plus, Jay is going to get more and more frustrated with NIL and transfer portal, as all coaches are in any sport. I can 100% see a day and time where, if the opportunity presented himself to be a major league manager or something like that, or maybe even a major league bench coach to a certain extent, he may consider it at some point in his career. And there's no doubt Tony Vitello is a trailblazer, for all college coaches. Excuse me. And if he fails, then maybe the idea and the conversation goes by the wayside. I think the Giants do give him 2 years. I mean, unless he does something ridiculous. I'm not even talking about wins and losses. I just think if he, acts a fool or gets into a fight with a player or something like that, that would expedite things. But I think regardless of wins and losses, if he keeps his head underground, I think they're committed to him for 2 years. Didn't they give him a 4 or 5 year deal?
I think it was
So
four. I
it's
think it
at
was
least
four.
four. So if he got four, then I see them at least trying to give him two because they took a lot of criticism. Buster Posey took a lot of criticism. He's the one that pulled the trigger on this deal. So, so, so anyway, definitely monitoring that. It's funny you bring it up with Jay Johnson because I had lunch yesterday with Skip Bertman, and someone at the lunch asked him, "Coach, were you ever asked called by Major League Baseball at any point in your career, to be a manager or, in the pros or, at the big league level and all that?" And he said, no, and he goes, "I'd be willing to bet no one has except Tony Vitello." Like the jump to go from Division 1 or any level one as NCAA junior college manager or coach to a big league manager without going to the minors is unprecedented. And even the great Skip Bertman never got that phone call.
Yeah, well, again, it's unprecedented. We'll see how it goes. There's been other mixed things, Ronnie. I know, during spring training, he was trying to be everywhere, like on the backfield and in the cage and in the bullpen. And somebody slowed him down, read this, and said, "Hey, coach, we have like 25 coaches on staff. We have extra people in here for spring training. You don't need to do everything. This is not Tennessee where you got three assistants and a couple of managers that can throw BP, and so there's been a learning curve, obviously, because he's never been there before. Never even been in a triple A dugout, double A dugout. I guess a triple A dugout would have a little bit of a major league feel because you could have some guys that have been to the show up or down, whatever. But I've been following it pretty close, as I told you when I saw an interview with him before spring, at the early part of spring training. And they're 3-3. They won a game last night, and it's a long way to go. They didn't score a run in the first two games or whatever, and everybody was barking about it. But hey, and then of course Vitello got pushed down the list because Tiger Woods jumped on the top of the list of news items.
Speaking of Tiger Woods,
Boy, that
interesting
was tough to
factoid
watch,
you
huh,
told.
Ronnie? That
What's
was
that?
those videos are tough to watch.
Yeah, all the release videos that came out of him being, all the police camera footage. You mentioned a factoid before we go on air about the Masters next week.
This will be the first time since 1994. Ronnie, you were still playing baseball in 1994 that you have a Masters tournament without either Phil Mickelson or Tiger Woods or both playing in the tournament. Phil has backed out last minute thing, a family health matter. That's all that's being said. I don't know if his wife's sick, it's a kid problem, whatever it is. He has a couple of kids. But this, for the first time since 94, no Tiger, no Woods, no Tiger, no Phil playing in the Masters. And of course, what put together, they have seven of those titles. So,
Well, definitely surprising. And Tiger Woods got the okay from a judge to to go do therapy at a rehab facility out of the country. I'm sure that was an easy argument to say that, he wouldn't be able to get proper therapy treatment in a facility in America because he was too famous. Um, but it also may be that his therapy may be a resort on an island somewhere, like in the middle of nowhere. Uh, this will be the second time he's going to therapy. Remember the last time he went to Mississippi to go to a therapist. Um, this one feels like a little more sense of urgency because Tiger Woods isn't a spring chicken. He's 50 years old. He had himself said he had over 20 knee surgeries. He's had 7 back surgeries or whatever it has been. He's dating, and I don't know the current state of it. Dating Donald Trump's niece or
Former daughter-in-law.
former daughter-in-law. That's what it was. Former daughter-in-law. And this one's going to be interesting to see if we ever get to true Hollywood story. The most interesting thing to me that came out of all the footage was that Tiger Woods either was or acted like he was on the phone with Donald Trump when after the wreck. When the police approached him, he was finishing up a phone call where he said, thank you, sir, something like that, and then told them, "Oh, I was the president." Now, was he really on the phone with the president, or was he acting like he was on the phone with the president, hoping that maybe they would, oh, it's Tiger Woods and he was just talking to the president, maybe they let him go. Maybe they don't pursue anything. Um, but he had 2 hydrocodone pills in his pocket. He admitted that, he had taken prescription, medication, and that he hadn't drank and blah, 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 blah. He didn't do the urine test, which is automatic misdemeanor, type charge there. This one is going to be interesting to see where he's at a year from now in his life.
Well, I don't know if he was on the phone with Trump or not, but I truly believe he meant what you just said, to toss that little nugget out there, like, oh, yeah, yeah, well, yeah, put my phone in my pocket. I was just on the phone with the president. He didn't mean the president of the Baton Rouge Rougarou, okay? And so I think he definitely played that card because obviously he was in an impaired state. That's clear. And then that one time he's like, this is fun when he's all strapped into that chair on the inside of the police vehicle. So it was tough to watch. It was tough to see, but I clearly think that was like a little nugget, like, oh, for maybe the police officer said, "You mean President Trump?" And get all excited or
Right.
something. But I guess one day we'll know. Who knows?
It would be something if if he really called the president in that
Well, here,
moment, and then
Randy,
they patched
Randy,
him through real quick.
our viewer Randy Jones, who joined us at BRQ Barbecue and Seafood last week, he said that he read that Tiger was talking to Trump. Now,
Well, yeah, but the White House has not admitted or put out anything that it's official that they were on the phone. Obviously, they're close and have a friendship and a relationship. And I'm sure if Tiger Woods called, he can get to the president. Could he get to the president in that moment in 5 minutes? After being pulled over, did that happen that quickly? I mean, is the president stepping out of the Iran war room to go take a call from Tiger spur of the moment? Like, hey, Donald, urgent, call me. Like, hey, boys, I got to step out. I mean, I don't know.
I don't
But
know.
it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me. I just, in curious minds,
Well,
want to know.
and I guess in that, there could have been a situation when Trump was walking down a hall or had just left the meeting, glanced at his phone, and so it could have been, good
You
timing. I
think
don't
Donald
know.
Trump keeps a phone on him, or you think he's got a
Yeah,
guy or a gal that keeps the
no,
phone on him?
I've read where he keeps a phone with him. Now, what does that mean? When he's walking between the White House and the helicopter? Maybe. I don't think he keeps it with him when he's talking about the war in Iran or he's talking about whatever else.
Um, all right. Well, we will continue to monitor the Masters. It's going to be a very different looking Masters without the 2 legends that you pointed out. I will be emceeing a Calcutta auction like I do annually next Wednesday night, and that's when I kind of get into my Masters mode. And then you and I can talk about it on Friday morning. Obviously, day one will be underway. but we will try to see, who we think is going to win. We'll also visit on Sunday, on Saturday, tomorrow, Sports Shorts Radio. We'll have Buzzy Heidel will join us as he will be the gallery guard at the Masters for, I think, the coming up on his, it's going to be this fifth or sixth year. I think it's sixth year, but we will check with Buzzy. We'll get a word from him. He and Mike Hollander are making their way. They usually stop off this weekend. They usually leave on Friday and play some golf Saturday, Sunday on the way to Augusta. And then on Monday morning, they are working for 7 straight days. Usually, Mike works hole number one. Buzzy Heidel, former LSU Tiger national champion, works hole number 10 for the Masters all week. And then usually they call me on the way home Sunday night and they bitch and complain about how tired they are and this is the last time they're ever going to do it and probably done. And then by Wednesday or Thursday, they're like, no, I was just talking crazy. I'll be back next year.
Yeah, I would think so. If I had that opportunity, I think I'd go back as well. And I know some people that are going up for the Monday at the Masters. I know somebody else that's going to be there Tuesday for the practice round to stuff. I've yet to make that trip. Maybe it'll happen one day.
Buzzy bringing his wife for the first time this year. Annie Beth going up there. She's never been to the Masters, so she will be up there all week.
All
So that'll be
right.
fun for her, or at least a few days. I don't know if she'll be up there all week, I assume. All right, so let's get back to LSU baseball for a minute, Tommy. Some interesting things. Dardar is really swinging the bat well. He was the co-offensive MVP. Had another good night Tuesday against Southern, giving them some juice at second base. John Pearson, not the best defensive third baseman that's ever played at LSU, but he's doing some good things offensively. Seems to give you one big hit a game. Maybe a little more quality at bat than what they've been getting consistently from Caraway. And of course, Milam took a giant step forward. Hopefully, that momentum that he gained on Tuesday, hitting a home run from both sides of the plate against Southern, which is the second time he's done that in his career. His first since 2024 when he did it against Wofford in the NCAA regional in North Carolina. But that would be huge if they can get Milam going because in 30 games he's yet to make an error. I'm going to talk to Bill Franquez before the game on Tuesday. Hopefully he can go, this weekend without making an error in Tennessee and see if they can figure out, he's 33 games in at that point. What's the best 33 game stretch of any shortstop? But this is unprecedented what he's doing defensively. And Tommy, if Milam can hit 275 or more, if he can end up at his average up to 275 or more, along with that defense, I would take him over anybody in the country, and that's if that's taking a shortstop that hits 325, but fields 970. Or if he can be that good defensively and hit 275.
Let me ask you this question because somebody asked me and I didn't know the answer. When he hit the home run from both sides of the plate, and I know he did it a couple years ago. Prior to him doing it a couple years ago, did an LSU player ever do that? Homer from both sides of the plate in the same game?
That's a
I
good
know it.
question.
I don't. I'm trying to think. I don't remember anybody with that switch hit with that much power.
There's a part of me that wonders if Matt Heath was a switch hitter.
I
For
think he
some
was.
reason,
I
huh?
know he hit lefty and threw
I know he had
righty. I knew
lefty,
that.
but for some reason his name popped in my head. And
Aaron Hill
and
didn't switch hit, did he?
who's that?
Aaron Hill.
No, he did not.
Okay.
I'm gonna look up Matt Heath just for a second.
Well, and but it was, I was the year I worked for the SEC umpires. Brian Reynolds, who started in left field for the Pirates yesterday, hit one from both sides of the plate while playing for Vanderbilt at the new box. I remember that. I remember thinking, man, that guy, he was really good. We knew that, and then he had a big weekend, including same game homer from both sides of the plate against LSU. One of them nights I worked the game. I don't remember if he switch
Yeah,
hit
he was a switch. Matt Heath was a switch hitter. My guess is that there's a chance Matt Heath hit a home run
both sides
potentially. I
same
mean,
game.
he
But
played at
yeah, that's a
LSU 2001, 2002, I think. I'll have to look into that, but again, I'll try to find all that out before
if
the
we
game
can
on Tuesday.
or before we do radio tomorrow, maybe on radio tomorrow we could
Yeah,
retouch
I'll
that a
text
little bit.
Bill and see. Bill Frank is a longtime SID. See if he knows that off the top of his head. But yeah, I mean, there's just not a lot of people who switch it, and there's not a lot of people that have power from both sides, and not a lot of people that do it in one game. I mean, it's super rare, and the fact that he's done it twice in 3 years for a guy who's not really a mega power hitter is pretty impressive. And his home run, talking about Stephen Milam's home run to left field on Tuesday, was a line drive, a pretty good pitch down. It barely cleared the wall. I mean, it was didn't get up more than 25 feet off the out of above the air. And then the one to right field was a no doubter into the right center field gap that was like 384 or something. So, uh, and then he had another hit. He had a 3 hit night. So that's a great sign. So, because Milam, this offense needs him. And, um, there was a lot of talk. Would Milam be back for his senior year? Um, and with this day and age, because Milam may be a sure-handed shortstop, but he doesn't have a lot of range. He doesn't possess above average speed, so he's not going to steal bases at the next level. So if Milam hits 240, 250, there's a conversation to be had that LSU in theory could give him more money than he's going to make getting drafted. Which if if he's not drafted in the first 5 rounds, or if he's not drafted in the first 10 rounds, it's for sure that LSU can get him more money than he would make. If he's in the first 10 rounds, at whatever point, you'd have to wait and see, what develops around him. But if that guy ends up hitting, like I said, above 275, Tommy, but with that defense, he's going to get drafted in the first 10 rounds, and chances are he's not going to be back.
Yeah,
So
I don't
you kind
know.
of, which way do you want? If he's going to hit, LSU better win because you don't want him to hit, wait, and waste the opportunity to have him back next year.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting to watch that one unfold because I don't see him as a big league shortstop, maybe a big league second baseman, but I don't know. It's not about how good you are in colleges. Are you as good as the guys they have in the minor leagues waiting to play in the big leagues? And I don't know. I don't know that Milam's there right now, and he's not gonna get any bigger. I mean, that ain't happening.
Yeah. All right, TK. What else do we have going on?
Well, we got March Madness, women and men. The women tonight, semifinals, final on Sunday afternoon, men's semifinals tomorrow, and final on Monday night. Short lines on all of them. The men, both games are 1.5 point spread. A lot of chalk, 2 1 seeds, a 2 and a 3 in the men. All 4 1 seeds in the women, and you got the 6.5 point UConn favorite over South Carolina, Texas, UCLA. So yeah, basketball people, it's your last weekend. I am leading Hunter McCann in the Hunter versus TK pool, and he has Michigan winning, and I have Arizona, and they're playing tomorrow. So whoever wins that game is going to be the winner of the pool between Hunter and I. And I think he'll owe me a $20 bill.
Um, Speaking of the women, SEC could potentially meet in the finals, but Texas and South Carolina are both underdogs in their
Correct.
semifinal game. UCLA is a favorite, and so is Connecticut. Out of those two games, who do you think has the best chance at the upset?
Oh man, I
Or
think South Carolina. I mean, you don't rule out South Carolina. I don't think. I'm surprised UCLA. They've been talking about UCLA, and they won about 30 something points in their last game. But Texas is very good. I don't know. I think South Carolina would be more of an upset because by the wise guys, they're a bigger underdog. But I think Carolina's going to find a way to get Ariema and UConn and beat them.
That's definitely the premier game, no question about it. You're talking about two blue blood programs over the last, Connecticut, over the last 30 years. But that's the one that I had the most interest in, and obviously pulling for both SEC teams. I know that's not the popular thing to do, that to pull for LSU's rivals, but I'm more, if the LSU can't be there, I want SEC to be there. Speaking of LSU, Kim Mulkey did an interview with Jacques Doucet, very good one on Jacques Talk online. You can find it. And it's about a 30-minute or so sit down interview this past week. She talks about the loss. She talks about players returning. They have a big core of players returning. I mean, LSU, I think, just before you even see the portal and the final signees and all, LSU's going to be a top five team in the country next year, preseason poll, maybe even number one or two in one of the polls. They have a lot of key players returning, but the bottom line is that uh, she talked about, hey, it was a travel, it was a walk, if you will, the shot that beat him, and I saw it immediately. I just thought, well, they don't call that anymore. They don't call travel. They don't call walking anymore. They do call walking a little more than traveling, but the shooter established a pivot foot and then just straight up picked it up and moved it to the right and cleared away and took a shot. I mean, that that call is made probably just even 5 years ago. No doubt that call is made by every umpire. But now we've been desensitized, whether it's the NBA, college, whatever. The game has been watered down and desensitized to where walks and travels it's a shock if they're ever called.
Yeah, I agree. And if they'd have called it on that, then of course the other team's going to say you hadn't called that in 5 years, or you hadn't called it all tournament, or whatever they're going to say. But that's when you have that human element in there. Any sport, yeah, you're going to get some things like that.
Well, the thing too, Tommy, is the tush push. For example, in the NFL, it was technically illegal. Then people started doing it, and then they started kind of not necessarily the tush push, but people were always pushing in the back, and and they would, you're going to call it, it's against the rules, and they wouldn't call it, and so then they leaned into it and were like, yeah, okay, fine, tush push it, rugby it, whatever you want to do, we're hands off on the rule, right? And then a couple people said, hey, wait, we can't do that, and the NFL said, no, we're not passing it. So now it's Katie bar the door. You can rugby style that ball down the field however you want. It's the same thing here with the walk and travel. Either the rule exists and you call it or you don't. Like, let's make a decision. Are we taking traveling and walking out of the game? I mean, is it going to become handball where it's X amount of feet you have to dribble the ball? I mean, like, either the rule exists or the rule doesn't. And right now, the rules are on the books, but it's like this ref calls it, that one doesn't, but more don't than do. And it's really changing the game. And I don't necessarily think in a good way.
Yeah, certainly not to our generation, and even maybe the generation behind us. The young kids don't care, But the NBA, the handful of times I've watched a couple of minutes of the NBA, it's ridiculous. 4 and 5 steps sometimes, and it's not called. And then college, but it gets down to what you just said: either call it or don't, and then be consistent about it. If you're going to call it on November 28th on the third game of the year in college basketball, you better call it in the championship game Monday night, or vice versa. Don't call it, and we'll just have, true backyard blacktop basketball as it was known when I was a kid, because most of the playgrounds had a blacktop surface, so we called it blacktop basketball. So it's really that if you don't call it.
All right,
I mean,
Tommy.
you could
Anything
even
else
get
before we get out of here?
you could get into call your own foul. Remember when you had to do that when you played the pickup games? If you missed it, hey, they got me, and you had to get the
Wow.
ball back, and everybody's like, no, no, they didn't, whatever. No, Ronnie. Other than that, we got the Masters next week. We'll talk about that tomorrow when we talk to Buzzy on the radio from Pat Daddy's in Plaquemine, and then March Madness all weekend. Major League Baseball rolling on. Nola takes the mound with the Phillies today. Skeen's got a win the other day. I don't know if you saw this, but Cruz never left camp with the big league team. He was 3 for 29 in spring training, and they sent him to AAA. He hadn't been up with the bigs yet this year. So we'll keep an eye on him and Tommy White, some others who are forecast to maybe get to the bigs at some point this season.
Yeah, you talking about Dylan Cruz with the Nationals. Yeah, he did not have a good camp, and they sent him down prior to the end of camp. Um, the Kevin Gosman, shout out to the U Club resident in Baton Rouge. Kevin Gosman for LSU Tiger, first time since 1900, I believe I saw, where his first two starts of the season, he had 10 or more strikeouts in each, and like no walks or something. I don't know,
Yeah,
some kind of crazy stat. So
I tell you
Kevin
when
Gosman picking up where he left off last year.
if his splitter's working, Ronnie, I mean, it's unhittable when it's coming in right above the kneecap and the hitter can't give up on it, and then it falls down below the kneecap, when it gets over the plate. if that pitch is working, he can beat any team, anywhere, any place. It don't matter. But like everybody else, he's not going to be perfect every outing.
Fun stuff. Love pulling for these LSU Tigers. 11 LSU Tigers were on big league rosters on opening day.
You
For
know who?
Tom,
A couple of people. You remember the guy who was at LSU, didn't pitch a lot. Jake Latz, lefty. He's in the big leagues with the Rangers, so he's not an LSU guy because he never played a game at LSU, but he was here one fall, I want to say. And then the other day, I'm watching in the Nationals, and Cole Henry is on the bump for the Nationals as a relief pitcher, and he did pitch at LSU. So
Jake Latz was a part of, I think him and Papirski were in the same signing class. Latz actually was supposed to play for me with the White Sox back in the day, and then he had arm trouble, and he stuck around for a year into the second year, and I don't know. He never went on the rubber one time.
I don't think he pitched at LSU. We looked that up too. We got to
There we go.
Why don't you
I'm gonna
look
do
that
it
up
right
real
now. It's
quick, and
the
I'll
old
remind people that,
intranets is pretty
yeah,
exceptional.
that
Um,
Tremonti's has got all the crawfish you need. Okay, while Ronnie looks that up, they're not going to run out. A lot of people calling all over town, fearing that they're not going to get some. If you order them from Tremonti's, you're going to get them. You order live or boiled crawfish. They're going to be open Sunday morning from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Easter Sunday morning. You want to pick up them crawfish for the crawfish bowl? Call them today. Stop by here. If you order them live or boiled, they'll have them for you here at Tremonti's in Baton Rouge. Lots of crawfish rolling out the door. That happens every year at Easter. And Tuesday, they'll have the crawfish special again. Don't forget Saturday night over there, our friends in Port Allen, steak night at Court Street Cafe. Court Street Cafe will be closed Sunday for Easter. I'll be over there Monday night for Sports Shorts Monday. As many of you know, we switched Monday to 6:30 p.m. Friday, we're here at 9 a.m. with Sports Shorts. And don't forget tomorrow morning, Sports Shorts Radio, 10 to 12, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and Lake Charles will be at Fat Daddy's in Plaquemine. All right, what's the verdict on Jake Latz?
Okay, it's what I remembered. He did throw. So Jake Latz, the story on him. He was a 11th round pick out of high school by Toronto in 2014. Okay, and he was in that Papirski class, and he was supposed to play for me and all that. He's from Illinois. Papirski was from Illinois as well, so they knew each other and all that. He was on the team in 15, redshirted, was first academic honor roll student. Then in 16, his one and only season where he played a little bit. Again, he was rehabbing, recovery. He appeared in 7 games, made 3 starts, totaled 8.1 innings. Those 3 starts were like midweek starts where he's going to throw 1 inning type of thing. He went 8 1/3 innings. He gave up 10 hits, 7 earned runs, 3 homers, walked 4, struck out 11 and 8 1/3. So he had a 7.56 ERA, and just never quite got healthy, and then transferred. Ended up going to Kent State after LSU, and then of course made his way to the big leagues. He was a left-handed pitcher who threw the hell out of it, and eventually he put it all together, got healthy later in life.
Yeah, he did. On the big league club with the Texas Rangers now, and he's like a spot starter, long relief type guy. But I still keep an eye on the Rangers, as you know, and of course LSU's Josh Smith's over there. So, yeah, that
And
was
and by
good
the way,
on.
speaking of Michael Papirski, who played a long time in the minor leagues, he's done. He's living in Baton Rouge. I think I ran into him and his wife. I believe he's having a baby. But Papirski's living in Baton Rouge and all that makes me feel old because I remember coaching him when he was graduating high school, headed to LSU. And speaking of a switch hitter, there you go. There's another one, a switch hitter for LSU with a little bit of power. So he might have hit a home run from both sides of the plate in the game. We'll have to look that up. So switch Matt Heath was a catcher. Michael Papirski, who was a catcher, both switch hitters at LSU that had some home run juice. So I'll have to see if they ever had a game like that.
Did Louis Garcia switch it?
No, he should have. He probably would have been better left-handed than right-handed because he was not
Uh,
very good right-handed. Skip once told him.
I had to throw you that softball so you could
So
rib
Skip
Louis.
once told Louis, my old teammate, he said, and when he first started at LSU, Louis played 89, 90, 91, third baseman, second baseman, a little pitcher. He told Lou his freshman year, watched him taking batting practice in the cage, and he said, 263. And Lou said, "You're gonna hit 263 like that." and Lou was like, "I think I hit 265 my freshman year or something like that." He was right on it, you know.
Yeah, well, it doesn't surprise me that Skip was right on. Hey, radio tomorrow morning, Sports Shorts Monday, 6:30 p.m. Don't forget that. And there's always clips and stuff up on all the social media platforms for Sports Shorts. We want you to check that out.
All right, for Tommy Krysan, I'm Ronnie Rantz. We'll see you tomorrow morning on ESPN Radio for more Sports Shorts Radio. Until then, we'll see you Monday night, Sports Shorts Monday, 6:30 p.m. Have a great weekend and happy Easter to everyone.